But there are some nature. Yes, there's two.
Did an honest jury last year.
Yes.
My name is Roger Hankins. I'm the director of the Cantor Art Gallery. And I just thank Paula Rosenblum in the back there for all of her support through the years and also for all the support getting the show put together. Tim Johnson, who's been working with us for years as a preparator, was also instrumental in helping get this show open. And a gentleman named Frank Rehm, who some of you know, also worked with me pretty much throughout the whole summer to prepare the different materials that we had to get ready so that we could install the exhibition. So without that team, I would have had a really hard time getting it into the gallery. So that was really great. So I'm here to welcome you and also to introduce Professor Lewis, who is one half of the curatorial team that helped us produce this exhibition. I'll start with the bad news. Jinah Kim, Dr. Kim, unfortunately has been sick for a few days now, and unfortunately she will not be able to attend this evening, even though she wished very much to be here. We're hoping that we can reschedule something with Dr. Kim, and certainly I'm sure she'll be able to see the exhibition as soon as she can. So she sends her regrets, and she very much hopes you enjoy the exhibition. The exhibition we started with about 4 years ago, if I recall. It was the impossible exhibition, and we made it possible. Without Dr. Lewis and Dr. Kim, their encouragement, their scholarship, their expertise, and their very hard work at assembling some remarkable works from the Metropolitan Museum in New York, from the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, from the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, from the Cleveland Museum of Fine Arts at Harvard University, who are all our lenders to the exhibition. You never would ever know that something like this, with the scope and the depth of this exhibition, we could have not done it without their support. We're very, very fortunate to have a sizable grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities, and most recently from the Carpenter Foundation as well. So without that support, we probably were not going to be able to do this exhibition here at Holy Cross, and it's a great honor for us to be able to do it. Todd Lewis, Professor Lewis, is the person behind the scenes and has inspired me to push harder and do more. His expertise in this field goes back decades. He is quite the scholar of Newar art and Nepalese life. We have two fantastic gentlemen here, Sanu and Naresh, who are also here doing this whole exhibition to help us with a lot of different details and rituals. The exhibition itself is, as I was thinking about this a little earlier today, it's a 4D exhibition. It isn't a 2D, it's not a 3D, it's a 4D exhibition. And what that means is that it's a time-based show as well. There are rituals that we perform throughout the exhibition. We have many, many lectures. This Saturday we'll be having a ritual outside of the front of O'Kane Hall that Naresh will preside over. Throughout the exhibition we will be doing important rituals that are in relationship to the art. The show is not just about the fine art and the art objects that are in the gallery, but it's actually about the rituals, and it's about the confluence of those two things together. So that's why I say it's a 4D exhibition. So I invite you, you're participating tonight, I invite you to come by for our reception afterwards, but also to partake in the various different things that will be presented. Sonali will be here next Thursday to give a wonderful talk. She's a graduate student at Harvard University, and she will start off the guest speakers, so that'll be fantastic. But we have a whole long series of lectures throughout the whole semester. So, Professor Lewis, we just got some materials 10 minutes ago, so we got a little delay, but in any case. Dr. Lewis.
Thank you, Roger. Yes, Rogers conveys that Jinah sent a 37-screen PowerPoint 10 minutes before the start. And so I'm trying to figure out just how to improvise on this beginning. And Roger's already done some of the things that I was going to do, especially to acknowledge our funders. In some ways, doing a show like this, I see now, is like something akin to theater. Jinah and I had a vision that was very inchoate and very some basic ideas we wanted to develop together and use a gallery space to do so and to exhibit what were some of our main interests as scholars. And you start with that and you refine and add to that vision, collective vision, and there's the whole anthropology of collaboration that is, many of us do them over the course of our careers, and it promises great blessings, but it also introduces all kinds of variables and other possible problems. I'm really sorry Jinah is not here tonight, mainly because I was really interested to hear what she's going to say. When you have a collaboration like that, where you learn through the process, as I have from her, it's a tremendous intellectual blessing. And my field, the Newar Buddhist traditions of the Kathmandu Valley, is a fairly small field. Even people, like, there's no one to talk to in my department about what I do, but there are probably 20 people around the world, half of them in Europe, who share an awareness and research experience in the Kathmandu Valley among Newars. And so to work with someone who knows that world, she's mainly an art historian, and she hasn't done the kind of research I have, but she knows really well manuscript cultures. To be able to learn from her and to look and to see and to think about colophons again and do all that, it's a wonderful thing, and I wish it on all who undertake collaborations that it could be as rewarding as this one. She's also a really nice person with a sense of humor. And I don't think I've seen her in person more than 20 times in 3 years, but I don't think that's an exaggeration. I think it's about true, but we've talked on the phone for hours and worked out some of the many difficulties and complexities that came with deciding what's in and what's out, what museums do we ask, what museums do we not ask, what do we give up on, what do we keep trying for. And then we did a catalog together that just came in last week that is 256 pages of space that also has to be designed, and we wrote for it, and we had some of our graduate students working with us with creative benefit, and I just loved being around Harvard graduate students and that whole world. It's not that this is, there's no comparison to Holy Cross, we don't have graduate students, but it was just good, and this whole exhibition for me is a kind of summation and a giving back to Holy Cross of my career. I've been working in the Kathmandu Valley since 1978, and I've been a research associate at Harvard for more than 20 years, and Holy Cross has supported me in every way I've ever asked them to do so. So while it may surprise some of you, or probably really surprise some of the conservative Catholic alumni of the college, Holy Cross is a modern institution, and they've been wonderful in helping to expand our curriculum. I see Susan Rogers here. Susan's also pioneered in this and really bringing the college into a global intellectual climate. It's still an ongoing struggle sometimes, but it's really great to have this occasion to give back and on many levels and to really use all of my skills, grant writing and intellectual skills, research experience, my connections to Nepal and to very talented people here from Nepal who are adding to this exhibition and to the college this academic year. So Roger thanked the funders, and I really want to thank Roger. Roger was willing to follow us down this rabbit hole into this other world that he's never been to Nepal, but he believed in us. And I think, or he at least thought we would be very entertaining and amusing to go down the rabbit hole with. And it's quite an amazing thing to have your vision slowly before your eyes come together with the kind of professionalism that they bring. And Paula is included in this, as are Frank and Tim. It just doesn't get any better than this. And you know, Jinah at times would say, you know, how unpleasant this would be right now at Harvard, what we're doing. And they're just great. So it's made me appreciate the college that I've spent most of my career teaching in. And I just want to say those things to start with. Peter Burley's not here. His willingness to donate from his collection, Peter was a State Department guy in Nepal and a Peace Corps volunteer in Nepal before that. And in friendship, he was willing to lend objects. So we had a foothold and we knew Peter wouldn't charge us museum fees. So that was the beginning. Without that, I think I would have said, you know, it's too much of a long shot. And little did I know how much museums charge for things. But so that big Vairava mask that you see on the far wall coming in there, that's Peter's. That's Peter's presence. That's Peter's contribution to this. And Indra is as well. Indra, the guy like this. So I really appreciate Peter, and I have to say that without his assistance. I also, at a certain point, said I'm not doing this unless we get this big, long painting I saw as a graduate student in some rich guy's backyard. And Jinah said, okay, well, let me work on it. A week later, I was on the phone with John Henry Rice at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, and he said, I heard you're looking for this painting that was given to us a couple years ago. So when you go downstairs and you see that 23-foot long painting, that's it. And it was like I saw this treasure, this masterpiece of painting, and then it went missing, at least as far as I was concerned. And I'm not an art historian, I don't really look for paintings, but I always wanted to see this because I'm interested in the connection between text and lived religion. And in that sense, it's a theme that Jinah and I have based this exhibition on. So getting that thing in the target and having a friendly curator and what a principal man John Henry Rice is. So I hope he's going to come and see the exhibition. But he also said, you know, we really want you to explain what it is we have. That's one of the secrets of museum curators. They get given stuff all the time, and most of it's in storage, and they really don't know what it says or means. And so it's really been a great collaboration. And we have a first-rate scholar, the leading authority in the world on the Swayambhu Purana, coming to give a lecture from Cal Berkeley. So again, these are our connections, and these are sort of people that are in this small world of Nemours studies, but Von Rospat's talk is going to help make sense of that painting. And I'd also like to, as I'm sort of going down what I'm grateful for, their staff at Harvard and the technical part of the Harvard museums who helped to engineer this huge touchscreen device that allows you to look at individual vignettes in that long painting. And it's just overwhelming, actually. It's impressive, and you go, wow, that's a lot of painting. It's 23 foot long and 3 panels high, but what does it actually say? Well, Von Rospat translated, you can use this big touch screen to go vignette by vignette. And it'll take a while, because it's got a lot of words and a lot of scenes, but we feel that we've really than what we intended to do, to bring a major piece of, a major treasure of Newar artistic tradition to, into the public view and into awareness. Let's see. I also wanted to especially thank Sano Vajracharya. Sano became my assistant in Nepal when he was 16 years old. And he's the guy at the camera, but he's actually studying American civilization and Holy Cross culture. He's been here for 3 months. And he and I edited videos together a lot, turned my office into a video studio. And we have 26 short documentaries that help give this fourth dimension to the art. So we filmed, Sano filmed most of these, and I had a few students at Holy Cross back in 2012 when we were there. We filmed scenes that are shown in paintings, so you can see the same rituals painted 300 years ago being still done today. So it's that kind of depth and historical and phenomenological coverage that we were trying to achieve. And the thing is, it's possible to do this in Nepal. Naresh Bhattacharya is also here as a Fulbright scholar for this academic year. He has a PhD in Buddhist studies, but he is the main, one of the great leaders, the younger leaders of modern Buddhism in the Kathmandu Valley. And he left being a university president to be, to come to Holy Cross for this year. And he's teaching courses, and he's actually decided to teach 3 students Sanskrit at Holy Cross this academic year, very eager students. But he's also going to teach he's teaching a course with me now, and he'll teach a course himself in the spring. So having him around to also do live rituals that also, let's say this Saturday is to put the life in images and paintings or statues, or rituals that are depicted in the paintings, such as making small stupas. We're going to have students in the community of the Newars in the New England area come to Holy Cross to participate and to observe these traditions. So that's something I'm looking forward to. It's been a lot of work, and a lot more than I ever imagined, I think. But to have such good traveling companions has made it really a wonderful experience. When this week is done and the sand mandala that Naresh is making daily, and this first week is over, will be a little less time consuming, but I'm really looking forward to sharing all these things with students, the community, and the Holy Cross community of scholars and students. So that said, I also would like to thank Scott Fahey and his wife Sharmila. But I have to apologize. We just couldn't get his photographs. He donated. We sat down with Scott, and he's a marvelous photographer. He has a real eye for detail and the kind of thing that scholars love to see. The way hands move, the way lamps flicker when they're lit. He's also very technically wonderful in his ability to capture 108 lamps lit at night and give you a sense of the magic of that time. And we've printed all of his photos that he developed, but we just have not had the time to put them up. So Roger has said at certain points that this is not the Metropolitan, and we don't have to go crazy over the small stuff. And Scott's photographs are not small stuff, and they also give life to the paintings inside and the sculptures. But I want to do it right. I didn't want to rush it this morning because that's not the way I like that. I want really time for excellence to come forth, and so we're going to do that next week. So I'm sorry about that, but they'll be up for 3 months. So I think it's going to be fine. Let's see if there's anyone else I wanted to mention here. I want to thank my department, Bill Reiser, department chair, and also the Asian Studies program with May Sim as this year's coordinator. And thank Susan. Susan really pioneered this kind of interactive and multifaceted use of the Cantor space with students, and showed how there's an audience for and a way to go forward, and we've all learned from her work. And Susan's supposedly retired, but that's only from teaching. She's working in Worcester with refugees and still blessing some of our students with her expertise. So it's really, thank you for coming, Susan. Now, what's the strange moment is that Jinah sent me this, and I generally listened to her, and it came just, as I say, a few minutes ago. I want to say something about why we did what we did, and I'm just trusting that she put this together despite, she's had vertigo for 10 days, and it's been just horrible. And that she's not here means she's really hurting. But I'm going to try to be faithful to her side of this and express what I'm sure are going to be common thoughts and themes. Our goal was to keep this friendly for students. And of course, when you sit academics down and you start writing a catalog, you end up, you keep writing for the 25 people who know what you know. And so we had to work that through, and that was something. And the hours, days we spent, fixing diacritics, which is my least favorite thing in the world, on words and italicizing them or not. And I'm just so glad that catalog's out, and it came out well. And Brill did a really beautiful job. So it's for sale at the gallery. It's on Amazon, and it's on the Brill website. And please let me know if you have any problem with that. But the catalog is our permanent record of this exhibition. That's really what's going to live on. And we're hoping that it reaches an audience beyond just the art history world. We have a vision of understanding and portraying Buddhism that is quite at odds with what's typically done and typically present in the Western imagination. The Western imagination is skewed toward the 5% who were monks and who were spiritual virtuosos. And really not that informative or oriented toward the typical householders, people who are living in the world, who are shopkeepers or farmers. And our goal has been to show how Buddhism is lived, and not just among the ultra-elite, the cave-dwelling monastics who are spending 3 years and 3 months in the Tibetan cave trying to reach nirvana. Good for them, and we respect them, and the great virtuoso painters who paint and sculpt and all that. But we also wanted to balance that with a sense of the lived religion of Buddhism in the Kathmandu Valley, but by extension elsewhere. Because it's not just about Nepal, this ambition of ours in this show. So we wanted to give this sense of ritual, Buddhist ritual art of Nepal. That's our title, Buddhist Dharma and Punya, Buddhist ritual art of Nepal. So let me just go back and say Dharma. What is Dharma? I didn't do this the other day. I think, boy, that's an omission. Dharma literally means, in the Buddhist sense, means the truth. It means reality. It means what Buddhists hold to. And it's the teachings of the figure called the Buddha, Shakyamuni, the sage who lived 2,500 years ago. That's Dharma. Punya is good karma. And so typical householders and all Buddhists really are enjoined to follow the Buddhist teachings and to make good karma. The world they're enmeshed in is not the same one as in the Western monotheisms. That is, they live and expect to live reborn multiple lifetimes. So the logic of life is also affected by the fact that you are going to die and you're going to be reborn. And since you can't take it with you materially, what you take with you is punya, merit. And if you read the Buddhist text with aware of that, you see that the Buddha talks about punya all the time. And you're not a slacker if you decide you can't reach nirvana in this lifetime. You're like a typical Buddhist who says, nirvana sounds great, but I know I'm nowhere near that. I don't even know what some of these words mean. But I do know that the Buddha said to be good and not make bad karma, and to be generous and compassionate and to make good karma. And that's the way they orient their lives. And it's not that hard to understand. Now, if you want to go talk about what the philosophers came up with, there are 5 or 6 floors of philosophy in Buddhism that are incredibly impressive, and monuments to human thought and human spiritual imagination, and the attempt to get down with ultimate reality. It's true, that's there, and I teach that. But I want my students, and I want the Western imagination to be informed by the humanity of Buddhists as well. So, that's why we're focusing on ritual art, because ritual is the way Buddhism is lived. Now, you have modernists who are converts to Buddhism, many of them, who want to see Buddhism as just philosophy. I mean, I hear this as the thing at cocktail parties. Every profession has the cocktail party question that you just always get. You know, isn't Buddhism just a philosophy? I said, and I just have to say, have you ever lived in a Buddhist country? Have you ever lived among Buddhists? Every day is full of rituals. From the beginning of the day until the last lamp goes out in the house, living a Buddhist life is full of ritual. Monks have rituals. They have required rituals. So this whole construction of Buddhism is not anything, it's not really, it's just a philosophy and not a religion. It is just crazy. But Americans have a way of constructing others' worlds in crazy ways, and that's one of them. So part of our show is to push back against this ridiculous idea that Buddhism is not a religion in the way it would be any religion is understood. So that's a very central part of this story. So we want to meet people. We have Padmatula that are greeting everyone coming into the gallery with their puja plates. These are ritual plates ready to go to the monastery and to make offerings. But we also are mindful of the high art traditions. And the high art traditions were not made to show off the artistry. Most of these painters are anonymous. They don't sign their paintings. But they made art to be used. It's working art, if you will. And even the great, great accomplishments, this Vasundara painting that greets you coming into the gallery, is a great masterpiece. And it is to be used for a particular ritual in which people fast and focus and chant the mantra of this earth goddess, Vasundara. It's a very interesting figure, and it's a whole topic of a paper, perhaps. And so this is a template for meditation and ritual action. And what you love about the Newars, and Tibetans don't do this as much, is that they like to have a memento of what they did. And so they will insert who was there, who the priest was, who the family was, all the family members who showed up. And then you can see this is a fire ritual, and this is the dedication of a stupa, a Buddhist shrine that you'll see examples of in our show. So the Newars lend themselves very well to this goal of showing Buddhism is lived, because their art even includes scenes in which the art itself is depicted. Yeah, I knew she was going to put that in there. That's the close-up. And these are masterful miniature kinds of paintings inserted at the bottom. And you can even see the tools for the fire sacrifice that we have examples of in the gallery. A conch, the bell, and these ladles that are used to put things in that fire there. And you can see the stupa on the side. So it's really quite marvelous. And there's a fire sacrifice in reality. And they're dedicating an image that shows that very scene. So we have, I don't dare click on anything, but we have made videos that go with the art in just this way. So here this is actually a mega fire sacrifice. And Naresh is in many of these paintings because Sanu videotaped him doing them for our purposes. And so, like on the left, you see this is a ritual dagger. And this is used to scare off the bad guys. You see, the Buddhists are very compassionate people, but they know, and traditionally you attribute troubles and sickness to troublemaking supernatural beings. They're ghosts, and they're yakshas and rakshas, and there's a whole long litany in the spiritual imagination of Buddhists, and they cause trouble. They possess people, they make them sick, they breathe on them, they all kinds of things. And so the Buddhist Vajracharya priests in the Newar community will do a ritual in which they invite all the spirits to come and to take some offerings. And then they tell them, you get out of town now. And we're going to put any inside where we put these daggers, you aren't coming in. And the family carries them off and puts them in the far crossroads, and that marks that space now as sort of a spirit-free zone. Of course, evil can come back, and eventually it does. But these ritual daggers were made for this purpose, and we have a video of a ritual that uses and shows how these daggers are put out there. So that's what we do. And this is another kind of dagger, and this is a Vajracharya priest who will, if you drop by and see him, he'll also sort of shoot any beings away from you that might be following you around. Not everyone thinks that all the time, but if you're sick or you're having troubles or something, you might want to just get a little boost from the Buddhist ritual that's available to you. And then there's stupas. This is a stupa that's made when a community of people get together and make 100,000 little ones with molds. We're going to do this with students next month. And you sit together and you make these little stupas with molds, and you collect them up, and then finally you mush them together. You have different things to do with them, and you make a big stupa, or you just harvest all the merit you've earned from making stupas. And so for certain life cycle rituals, the Buddhist texts say making a stupa is one of the most meritorious things you can do. And so you can make a stupa by having one painted. And here again you see the Newars, they like to commemorate. And this is actually a two-part commemoration. They're making this for an old age ritual. Or you can have a real one made in 3 dimensions, or you can have a repoussé metal plaque that shows a stupa, and it's all very meritorious to do so. Yeah, those are our details. And we have a video. See these guys here? They're playing drums and they're whirling around a bamboo pole. And we have a video of this musical group that's still very much active with the cymbal player and the drummer. And then they're pulling the elder behind in a little cart. And so they made the stupa to transfer the merit to the elder, 77 years, 7 days, 7 months, 7 days. And this is the ritual leading up to her going in the cart. So we have the blessing of having a very active Newar Buddhist community, and even Sanus community. So we have a video showing a relative doing this ritual for the elders. And then you worship this long life bodhisattva, a being dedicated to the well-being of humans. And yeah, that's what we have. So there she is. And we can talk more about this than we do in the films. And these are the stupas that you make. This is made specifically for this. Some families like to have a gold stupa, and they put it on their mantelpiece or their altar. We also have one example, and this is quite historical find. It's not a great work of art, but this is modeled on Nepal and was found in Russia because of the Buddhist community that converted to Buddhism from Tibetans, and they were basing their making a stupa probably on a Newar design. So the Newar tradition reached all the way past Central Asia, and it reached all the way to China as well. So what Jinah's specialty is text, and she figured out the logic of paintings that are located inside traditional texts. These texts, let's see, this is in the exhibition. This is palm leaf, and its texts are enclosed with wooden text covers. And so there's a logic to the paintings on the covers, both sides, and then interspersed, usually in these positions, as they're located in the 3rd dimension down through a text. And her dissertation is figuring out the logic of who's there and how they're situated. In short, the large answer, easy answer is texts became objects of worship as well. So the good news is that they preserve text. The bad news is that they threw colors puja items on the text, flowers, etc. And it wasn't always the best way to preserve the text. But in our exhibition, and this is what was, I'm sure, what really made her drawn to this kind of show, is that she's looked at in manuscript collections all over the world. This was a chance to do the best of the world, at least the best of the world that was close enough to borrow from. So these are miniature paintings. These are quite small, and they're in the tradition, some of them, of the miniature paintings of the, going back to the Mughal period and even earlier, perhaps, to some examples of Persian art. But this has been a thing in Buddhist tradition, illuminated manuscripts that go back to the 9th and 8th centuries. And she also showed in her work that the scribes in Nepal were connected to the scribes of North India. So again, Nepal was not this weird isolated case, but it was integrally connected, and now we have the sort of the data to show that. So if you go in the gallery, you'll see the arrangement of the texts and the paintings according to how they were revered for the paintings inside of them. So some of these are quite extraordinary, and they're 400, 300 years old. Now, I played with you last week on comparing this one, the copy of the popular image. This is Bungaja, the deity of Bungamati. And they always like to just call them by their localities. But this is a bodhisattva. This is an important Buddhist figure. But this isn't exactly the high art tradition. In fact, it's anything but that. But it's a copy of the most revered deity and statue in the Kathmandu Valley. So we wanted to include that. That's an example of this down home. And this is the Indra I was talking to you about. This is a festival that's about to start right now, yeah? And Indra is thought to be captured, sneaking around the Kathmandu Valley. And there are a number of processions and chariot festivals that take place that are very Buddhist. So Indra starts out as being the king of the gods in the earliest texts of tradition, but he really becomes a minor figure. But in the Kathmandu Valley that likes to preserve old things, Indra still is the center of attention for a week every year. Yeah, I think you'll like him. He has a certain presence, does Indra. But this is the one to scare away the bad guys or the bad spirits in the room. And this is Bhairav, and these masks are displayed every year during the Indra Jatra, and it has a little hole in the mouth where a straw comes out. And people give offerings of rice beer, and the rice beer comes back through the straw, and people gather around these huge masks to try to get a sip of beer. It's quite a scene, and we have video of this that is quite remarkable. So on the webpage, Dharma and Punya, and in the gallery, you can watch. It's quite a scene of religious enjoyment. So the whole idea of religion as enjoyment, religion is fun, religion is play, religious rituals are kind of play, is something that I think is often missing in our understanding of world religions. Yeah, we wanted to show, this is another kind of art, and a week from Saturday, Naresh Bhattacharya is going to tell the story of this painting. It's a simpler bilampao, a hanging banner painting. And we have a copy of this, and you can print these out on these huge printers. So we're going to display this. And Naresh and I did this a couple of years ago at the Rehm Museum in Toronto, where he'll tell the story on that banner. It's quite fun, but this is the way Buddhism is enculturated. You see young people and grandmas, you see people reminded of the stories, and they very much learn about the Dharma not by reading books on their bedside table, but by participating in the rituals of their community. Some can go beyond that, but this is enculturation. Now this is the painting that got us into this whole thing originally. And on the touchscreen, these are all the units of touchscreen explication and illustration. And as I say, I saw this rolled up. I don't know if she's going to put the rolled up. We'll come back to that. When I saw this as a graduate student, we couldn't even roll it out. It was on the guy's picnic table. And so I was looking, I thought it was the whole story of the Kathmandu Valley, but in fact there's a story inserted from here to here to here, in addition to the Swayambhu Purana, which is the story of the Buddhism beginning in the Kathmandu Valley. So, and then, this deserves another film though, which we've been shooting at the time. They had to get this conserved over the summer and get it ready for us. And then Frank and Tim and Roger figured out how to do this. And the thing is that while they're doing this, the curators from the museums are there to watch you. You know, it's like white glove time. So this is the kind of thing that, you know, you just look at in awe. I mean, we have these ideas and we're academics, we like to think up things, but these people have to implement what we think up. And it's just amazing to watch them do this. And I didn't see it originally, but I saw it right, it was up, and it was really inspiring to see how it works. And there's our touchscreen of the thing, and that's, Harvard people got it working yesterday or the day before, so that was good. We also commissioned some art to be made for this show, and the struts you see flanking that painting and the window on one wall facing it were all modern art that was made by these guys. These are wood carvers from the town of Bhaktapur. And the man who helped us and who was the curator of the show last fall, showing modern art, was very instrumental in getting this art made. He found the best guys, and it was good that we pushed back the date of our exhibition, but we commissioned these guys immediately after we thought we were going to do this, so we didn't have any drama getting them made. We had a little drama getting them here, air freighted in July, but this is a part of the show as well, patronizing modern artists. Yeah. Oh, see, now she's still a little annoyed the way I am. The San Francisco Art Museum pulled this on us at the last, well, in the spring, but they let us reproduce it. But this is one Jinah really wanted, and we both have been to San Francisco to see it. But it shows the making of the clay stupas. Let me see if she goes into this. Yeah, it shows the making of the clay stupas all the way through. It starts with the guy digging the clay, taking the clay in, it's a black clay, and then they pound it with a hammer. You see his hammer there? And they get it ready, and then people start to make the little stupas. They make the little stupas, and at the end, which I think is what we're showing here, there's another one of those fire rituals, the ladles and the grains that go into the fire, and they're dedicating the stupa that's made with all these things, all these little clay stupas together. And when they did it, guess what? They got the musicians to come and toot their horns and these long trumpets, and to show their veneration to the God who is there to bless their enterprise. And we wrote up 6 kinds of Newar Buddhist ritual music, which is certainly important. It's essential to being a Newar Buddhist. And playing this here drum and having musicians to riff with you is one of their great loves. And the people I work with in the merchant community, you're not a man unless you can play that 2-headed drum with a stick in your hand, and you go up to you visit all the holy Buddhist places in an ensemble called the Gula Bhajan, visiting and doing these things. So we try to bring that into the gallery and the paintings, and giving the music a place on the video documentaries. And there are different kinds of drums, and there's the guys who twirl the pole and who are part of that. It's really the part of the great spectacle and marvelous rich cultural life of the Newars. So that's a sample of what we're trying to do in this exhibition. We're trying to keep it simple for students and the general public, but we also are making a serious statement about reconceptualizing the understanding of Buddhism as a popular religion, as a lived religion, and as something that goes far beyond the virtuosos. I invite you to partake, to enjoy, to learn from, to ask questions about, and to extend what you know about the world through Buddhism through our exhibition. Okay? So we'll see you down in the gallery. Thank you very much.
Yeah.